There we go. So go ahead and take a deep breath. I'm Mary Bell Nyman from Psychic Horizon Center. Welcome to week 4 of Soul Retrieval. And we're going to start like we do every week by grounding, getting comfortable, saying hello to that body. And when we ground, we make an energy connection from the base of our spine to the very center of the earth. And that those two energy points, your spine and the center of the earth, can be connected by a big redwood tree, a beam of light. It's just an energy connection. Kids like monkey tails that wrap around a big stick in the center of the earth. It's a fun one if you haven't tried it. And you're going to expand that grounding cord till it's as big around as your hips. And that just allows you to release any energy that doesn't serve you. So take a minute, take about 3 deep breaths. Feel that body start to settle. And those breaths kind of tell the body it's turning off the world outside you and going inward. And inward is your own spiritual journey. We each do things different. We see the world different. Each of us have our own unique levels of information. To me, it's one of the highest privileges of being a teacher is being able to see how each person's universe is made up. It's very personal, very intimate. And it's very humbling to work with a group of students because you get to really see and experience them and their truth. And it's not just the physical body, it's the spirit, that immortal part of them. So as we ground tonight, just take a minute to say hello to yourself, releasing anything that doesn't serve you. And when we release it, it's kind of like taking a brick. It can't stay up in the air. So when we release things, you can get that concept of letting something go that falls through that energetic grounding cord to the center of the earth. So it's a physical release on a spiritual level. Last week, we worked on core pictures, things that affect us as a spirit, energy patterns that we've brought with us, sometimes from lifetime to lifetime. And one of the things that really serves you is when you can be honest about a concept that you're maybe controlled by. Maybe you take responsibility for everyone around you. And when you get in the body and bring that spiritual information and find one of your patterns, the more you can own it, the more you can change it. If you can't own that pattern, then it's really hard to make a shift with it. So having that honesty about what you've been up against, so to speak, and finding just a tiny bit of amusement really helps you release those concepts so that you can move forward. We all have areas in our life that we get stuck on. We have 3 adult handicapped people that we work with every day. They live with us. We're a host family. And one of them, who's heavy set, was talking about one of the ones that smokes. And he smokes, and she thought that was terrible. I'm like, hey, he smokes, you eat. We all have something. But the magic is we love each other no matter what we're stuck on, what pattern. And so finding that place where you can forgive yourself and everyone around you, recognizing we're all dancing as fast as we can. We all have things that we hold on to for security or that comfort us. Some people, it's, they have to exercise all day. Other people have to, run or eat or, so finding things that comfort your body can work for you or not work for you, but you have a choice. And last week we worked on those core issues that keep coming up in our life, like onions, layers of the onion. And how do we work with those pictures? And the more somebody's in their body, the easier it is to move through kind of the storm into the eye of it, and where it's calm, where you can look at it and really go, okay, hey, this is something that I've worked on for a long time, but it doesn't have to negatively impact you. So taking a deep breath and just knowing that if you get stuck in a concept, there's also going to be a huge lesson with it that you're learning how to balance that, and giving yourself that permission to find the other side, to look at where you've been stuck and the correlation of your own healing. It's really fun, when we look at an event, a situation that's happened to us, lots of times we only see it from our side of the fence, so to speak. But if you turn around, you walk around that fence to the other side and look at, how does that person experience you? How do you come across? And there's no good or bad. It's just having curiosity. It's like, take any situation that's happened for you this week or this month. It maybe was a little intense, and just freeze that like a movie and walk around and see, how does that other person experience you? So you're truly seeing both sides. And again, instead of looking at things from the angle of right and wrong, look at it from a curiosity level. What is that person learning by being engaged with you in their part of it? What are you learning by being engaged with them? And just like we have memory banks where we hold in our brain memories of things that have happened to us as children growing up, we also have a soul personality memory bank that make up like the pictures or the concepts that make us who we are as a soul. And you see that uniqueness as the personality that kind of shines through the physical body. And we're going to work on that tonight, because this is a big part of soul release as well, or soul retrieval, is getting through some of the pictures you got stuck on as a spirit. So seatbelts on. Let's get ready to do a little work. And I'd like you to imagine just sitting there grounded, connected your body to the center of the earth. And then with your eyes closed, being inward, you can imagine sitting in the middle of your head, looking out at a movie projector, a movie screen. And on that screen, we're going to look at some concepts. And the soul personality memory banks are behind the head in the aura. So somewhere kind of behind you. And we're going to project them out on that movie screen in front of you. So we're just going to imagine opening the soul personality memory banks. And on your screen, you're going to create a huge soap bubble the size of a soccer ball. And I want you to imagine pulling out of the memory banks any place, any energy where you as a soul got stuck in being responsible. And boy, that can vary from one thing to another. I have a lifetime. I was in Pompeii when that volcano went off as a runner, warning people. And, you know, you couldn't get to everybody, and feeling great responsibility at not being able to help more people escape. So as a soul, taking responsibility for that group and feeling terrible that we couldn't get more people out. Now, was that my responsibility? Not really, as a soul. So you have to learn to forgive yourself and move forward. So look at anything you personally are taking responsibility for that maybe isn't yours. And just pull any of that energy out into that big soccer ball, that big bubble. And pop it. Let it go. And create another big bubble. And pull out any lifetime where you got stuck in pain. Maybe you lost your husband or your wife or a child. Maybe you weren't able to save them. Whatever it was, any place you got stuck in that level of emotional pain, pull that energy out into a bubble. And forgive yourself and whoever else was in there with you. And pop that bubble. And breathe. And these are places where in soul retrieval, you're bringing back that part of yourself that was stuck, that's been sitting in a picture or a concept, unable to move. Let's do another one. Any place you got stuck in a group agreement that this is how the world had to be. This could be a culture, it could be a religion, it could be a political stance, it could be family traditions, any place you got stuck where you couldn't have your own freedom to move forward or backward. All of us grow up in a set of rules that our family introduce us to. And it's not till we really hit our 20s and move out on our own that we start to really look at some of those concepts and decide whether or not we want to keep them. So when you find your freedom from any kind of structure that doesn't work for you, then you move forward. So any place you lost some of your soul energy in a group agreement, just allow that energy to come out into that large bubble. And pop it. Breathe, forgive yourself and the circumstances that had you attached to that group agreement. And breathe. And notice the body's getting a little bit quieter. Some of that noise is dropping off. Gets easier to focus the more you're grounded. And when you do this kind of work, you're working from your own inner core self. Not so much the body, but the eternal part of you, the spirit. So again, looking at your concepts as a spirit, any place you got stuck in a power game where you had to be right. My favorite is righteous indignation. Oh, when we get stuck in that, boy, we can go around in circles. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be right or do you want to be free? Because when you get stuck in that concept, you lose everything around you. So again, take a deep breath. And if you've ever gotten stuck in righteous indignation, be mildly amused. It's never funny at the time. But start to pull some of that energy out. Pull your energy back from it. Any place you had to be right. Sometimes when you get to the edge of the end of your life, you look back on some of those things and it's like, why was I so stuck on that? But when you're in the middle of it, it feels very real. It's great working with people that are on, for me, in hospice on their deathbed. And what they discover as they start to let go of everything. And what they come back to is really the love in their life. The little things mean so much. So breathing and just giving yourself this ability to work on it now before you're even close to dying. You don't have to wait to do all this on your deathbed. Take a deep breath. And a soul, again, has more of the natural joy, the innate laughter and love in it. The body tends to hold the seriousness. So as a spirit, saying hello to that part of you that's taken any part of this life really serious and gotten stuck in it. And just give yourself permission to let that seriousness go. You can still learn quite a bit just by seeing both sides of things. Take a deep breath. And then if you would, we kind of talked about that soul personality memory banks that hold all the pictures of you as a spirit. They're behind the head and the aura, and they kind of look like a card catalog from a library. So just imagine all those pictures that make, your personality as a spirit in that card catalog, and you can ground it and ground out anybody else's energy. Any programming about how you're supposed to be versus who you are. And then fill it with your own energy, your own light. It can be a certain color that you like. And put a little temperature gauge up to it, 0 to 100. And keep filling that little card catalog until you get to 100. so that that energy is totally yours. And once it's yours, you can let that image go. And as we retrieve more and more of our spiritual information, one of the things that always comes up is the soul purpose. And, soul purpose is interesting. Can you be content with just holding light versus having to be famous or recognized? Some souls are just here to hold the light, anchor the light on the planet to add joy. Not everyone's going to be a Gandhi or a Mother Teresa or invent the light bulb. Do you still count if you don't have this huge burning purpose or desire? You betcha. So say hello to whatever you've considered your soul purpose. Or if you haven't known, would you let that be okay? And maybe just decide that just being you is enough. Can you be content with that? Sometimes the simplest acts are the most profound. Just smiling at a stranger, noticing if a mom's having a hard time trying to manage their child or something, and just saying, hey, I've been there. Just connecting sometimes is so powerful. And yet we don't always give it credit. Showing up, being who you came to be. Look at who you would be now if you lived with your family's perfect pictures about who you should be. How would your life look if you did everything according to their plan? Would that be a little bit different than where you are? Gail, you might have 10 kids instead of where you are, and you can do so much more without those 10 kids. So you have to really validate where you are. You're there for a reason. And it gives your life a richness that you may not consider. Now, some women are going to do great having 10 kids, but that obviously wasn't your path this lifetime. So where you are is not by accident. We get moved by spiritual beings and energy that helps us take our step along our way. So looking at your concept of who you should be and cleaning it off, taking everybody else's energy out of it. And really just giving yourself permission to love who you are, where you are. Even where you live, you're attracted to a certain vibration and you anchor towards it. You tend to stay in a location or you move to another according to how your soul experiences that location. And just for a minute, clean off everybody else's ideas and judgments about who you should be and anything that keeps you limited. Anything that keeps you judging yourself. And call that energy as you release theirs, call your own authentic self back to you. And just scan this lifetime. What are some of the biggest things you've learned so far? What did you come to finish and process? It's kind of like when you die, you do that life review. You look at your whole life, the things that you did well, the things that you didn't ever get around to, and just giving yourself permission to really look at this life honestly. We get stuck on good and bad here instead of what did you learn? In the spirit world, it's more what did you learn? It's not about good and bad. Where did that information take you? And giving yourself more of that. A fun way to do that when you look at your whole life is if you imagine like a shoebox and you had to put 3 things in that shoebox that represents the most valuable things in your life. What would you place in there? What would be the 3 things that would represent the most valuable aspects of yourself? And you can kind of look at them. Are they things? Are they people? Are they emotions? Are they abilities? Just notice, what if life boils down to 3 things, what would they be? And validate those 3 things for yourself. Notice what has been important to you this lifetime. It's going to be different for each of us. And as a soul, bringing back parts of yourself that may have been lost during this lifetime, calling that all back. It's like putting a huge magnet above your head and calling it back into a huge gold sun. When you call it back, it's always in neutral. It doesn't come back as in a specific form. It comes back as light, usually a golden light. So it looks like liquid gold. So calling back from any traumatic events in your life, anytime you felt invalidated or anything that didn't work for you, call it back in neutral. So instead of holding on to old pain or concepts that don't work for you anymore, you can bring back your essence and use it again. And with that huge gold light sitting above your head, I like to use the image of a gold sun. You can fill it full of that gold light. And then think of 3 things you'd like for yourself. It might be validation for those 3 objects in the box that were important to you. It might be more amusement, more clairvoyance, more certainty. Pop that gold sun and let it fill in that gold light to your whole body. And breathe. And just give yourself permission to be the best version of you can be. And that's not about being perfect. That's about being real. And as that gold light fills your body, let it also go outside the body, out into the aura, the energy that's around the physical body. I have a friend who wrote a book about his walk around the El Camino in Spain. It's a pilgrimage, and what he learned about himself. And this particular man was very competitive and had to be first. And as a pilgrim walking on this trail, wanted to always be the first in line or the first to get there. And he was racing himself, competing with himself. And as he walked, I think they walked close to 1,000 miles. It goes through mountains and valleys, and they seek lodging in different places. And he learned so much about himself. And my favorite part was the days when he didn't rush, he just allowed himself to walk and be in the midst of the beauty of the planet, whatever was going on around him. He always found great accommodations. He wasn't in pain from walking. But the days when he was trying to make it happen, he found he suffered some. His feet hurt, his knee hurt. He might not have found very good accommodations. And the more he just relaxed into himself, the more he learned, the more he was able to bring it all together. It was a great realization how he learned about himself. And he had to get quiet to have that. And many times, the quieter we get, and this is where the pandemic has been great, is it made people be alone. And you start to really discover who you are, not who everybody expected you to be, but who you truly are. And accepting and loving that part of yourself makes a huge difference. And that's more soul retrieval. That's learning who you are out of all the concepts of who you've been asked to be throughout your life. Just loving you. It can actually be that simple. And it always starts with self-love. And the other part of that is connecting back to source, however you see that. Your concept of an energy that's bigger than yourself. Might be Buddhism, it could be Christianity. There's a million ways, a million different spiritual bents that take you on a path. And kind of find that space for you where you connect to God, to spirit, however you envision that. And just take a minute and allow that energy to come in and fill and give you a blessing. To strengthen your faith in yourself so that you can stand in your own truth and be who you are, no matter what's happening around you. So that you can find that joy in life, that happiness that radiates from just loving who you are and being happy and content with your everyday life. Little kids teach us so much about being present. Noticing a flower, watching a bee, picking, vegetables out of your garden, whatever it is, but being present in the moment, not being in the future, not being in the past, but being right here and as every moment unfolds and having that richness, celebrating it, taking it with you. That sole purpose is tremendous. And if you happen to invent a light bulb along the way, hey, that's okay too. But that plain sole purpose of just being present, seeing what's happening around you is huge. So celebrating that, giving yourself that space. And hey, we can all cheer on the astronauts or the scientists or the doctors, but it doesn't mean we have to be them. So you might admire somebody's ability to create something. Go, wow, that's impressive. That's amazing. It doesn't mean that what we bring isn't just as amazing. So take a deep breath. Again, call back any other energy that's yours around the planet. And giving yourself permission to just enjoy who you are as an immortal being. And breathe. Okay. I'm going to stop our recording here.